There's a price on every one of our decisions or our indecision. If it's something you're passionate about, that you really believe, at least give yourself a try. You might do like what I did and really surprise myself.
Linda Stewart's story begins in Dodge City, Kansas.
My parents lived farmed outside of Kinsley, Kansas,
where she had a very modest upbringing.
I was a student that the teachers would write on my report cards that I needed to sit with my feet on the floor and not in the chair, and that I visited too much in class. and I could do A work if I would only apply myself.
After graduating from high school, Linda went off to Hutchinson Junior College for a year, but then dropped out.
I did not go back to college for 9 years.
In the meantime, Linda married and had 2 children. A few years later, she found herself a single mother with a family to take care of.
So I would go to school at night and try to juggle so that I was only gone 1 night a week. And it took me the next 10 years to finish my bachelor's degree.
All the time she was working on getting that degree, she was also working full-time. So anyone who tells you it can't be done needs to take some lessons from Linda.
What gave you the drive to do that? Because a lot of people would give up. That's a lot to undertake.
I think it was a lot about providing for my children and giving them a role model to follow.
And what a role model she is.
And all I can account is it was youth, and it probably contributed to some of my gray hair.
Shortly after receiving her degree in 1987, Linda was hired by Pizza Hut.
I hired in as a programmer analyst. I wrote code for them, I think, 3 months.
She was such a go-getter that she was promoted within the first year, and those promotions just kept coming.
It was a great experience.
Linda spent 8.5 years there, by which time she made it all the way to Senior Director of Information Technology.
In charge of the department of planning the projects and working with the executive leadership on where we were going with the direction of the business.
Although she was making great money, had a wonderful lifestyle, and was powerful and respected, Linda still felt something was missing.
I had been going away on mission teams. My husband and I had led several teams through our church, and each time we would go away and we'd have this incredible experience and come back, I would debate and agonize, what, Lord, do you want me to do with my life? I think probably I had both of my thumbs in my ears when I asked that question. And then I'd get promoted and I would forget about it and get distracted working on the new challenges of still raising the children and juggling family life, and until I finally just heard God's voice, and it was compelling, and I knew I had to make a change.
So Linda took a leap of faith, gave up the stability and security, and walked away. It took her 5 years to make that break. Over that time, Linda and her husband were going on 1 or 2 mission trips to places like this every year.
The value of life was not captured in how many zeros are behind the salary. The value of life was much different.
Linda's first job after leaving Pizza Hut.
I took a job for a 10th at First United Methodist Church in a servant role as a church administrator,
with the idea that she and her current husband, Richard, would become missionaries in about 2 years.
After 4 years, we were still in position where we were. Is where I hit my spiritual questioning, that maybe we misunderstood. Maybe God's answer was no.
Unbeknownst to her, the Stewarts' lives were about to change. 1 week later, Linda and her husband led a mission team to North Carolina, where they needed help after Hurricane Floyd. The last night they were there, the leaders at that disaster relief site pulled them aside.
I remember we thought, oops, what'd we do?
It wasn't that they did anything wrong, but the fact that they did things right. Those leaders asked Linda and Richard if they would be willing to stay on permanently.
We needed to put our house on the market, and they wanted us there in 3 weeks. So we listed our house high. We put it on the market, and it sold in 3 days in a bidding war. And the amount of money that we received over our asking price was the amount of money that we would need to move ourselves to North Carolina. And that was a big indication that maybe we were getting it right.
About 7 weeks later, the executive director of that organization left, and Linda was offered the job.
But here's what you need to know. We're almost out of money. We're going to be out of money in 2 months. And I remember saying, yeah, I'll be your executive director because I don't think God moved me out here to watch you run out of money. So I took the job.
A job that ended up lasting 14 more months. Then a tropical storm hit Houston, so Linda and Richard packed up and went there to help out. When that project was over, Linda wasn't sure where they would go next.
And 30 minutes later, a phone call came.
It was from Habitat for Humanity here in Wichita, asking them if they would come home and work here, which they did, until 14 months later when they got another call from North Carolina.
We put our house on the market again. It took 2 weeks that time to sell it, and 2 weeks is great. But even in those 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, come on, Lord, you did it in 3 days last time. What's wrong with that timeline? Can we go here and make this happen?
3 years later, the executive director's job at Habitat for Humanity opened up here in Wichita, and Linda got a call again.
Then what you see up here is 3 more foundations.
When Linda arrived here, Habitat was building between 4 and 5 homes a year. This year, Habitat will complete 14 homes. With the help of volunteers like these, the Habitat organization has started a project here at Arkansas and Jackson, where a total of 42 homes and a pocket park will be built by 2010. Even though things have always worked out, Linda says the journey hasn't always been easy for her.
Letting go and letting God is, for some personality types, easier. For me, that's been a stretch and a growing edge for me. It's not easy to make change for any of us, I think.
Changes are tough, and Linda has some advice for anyone who may be feeling the draw to make a huge change in their career like she did.
Be sure of your call. Take time to be sure of your call, because there will be points in your service that it's going to be tough. And if you have that assurance of your call, it will carry you through those tough times.
When she sees pictures like this and watches people getting the keys to their new homes for the first time, Linda says it makes it all worthwhile.
As they hold that symbol of that key between them, that it's more than about a house and it's more than about a key, but it's about a change that happens in their life. And you see that and you hear that in them. And knowing that whatever we're doing today isn't going to just affect that adult population, but will have amazing changes for the better future for a child. And that's my payoff. I wouldn't trade where I'm at now.
You've been extremely successful. You've won awards and honors and all sorts of things along the way. What means the very most to you?
It's my family and my children. This last May, when I was ordained as a deacon, hang on. My youngest granddaughter came running to me, and her arms were wide open, and she said, "Oh, Grandma, you were wonderful. You were just wonderful." And I thought, that's really, if we could affirm each other that way, but that was the best.